My guest in this episode of Suds and Search is AJ Wilcox, founder of B2Linked, a LinkedIn ads agency. AJ is an in-demand speaker, podcaster, course instructor, and author. He is considered one of the world's leading experts on LinkedIn ads. PPC Hero included him in their list of the top 25 influencers in the world for the past 4 years. He's presented at SMX, Social Media Marketing World, Inbound, HeroConf, PubCon, and many other industry conferences. He hosts his own podcast called The LinkedIn Ads Show. If you like this conversation, I highly recommend you check out his show. In my opinion, it's the best podcast for people looking to level up their knowledge of LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has a compelling value proposition for B2B advertisers. No platform knows as much about its users' work life as LinkedIn. This gives advertisers a huge advantage in targeting ads at a specific audience. Despite the obvious benefits, there aren't as many tools being created or conference presenters talking about LinkedIn as there are about Google, Facebook, or even less mature social media sites like TikTok. I start our conversation by asking him why that ratio seems off. The other obvious benefit of LinkedIn is for businesses that experience challenges hiring. I ask AJ about how to use LinkedIn to make finding your next hire less costly and less of a headache. Join me for a conversation with AJ Wilcox, a LinkedIn ads expert and a really fun person to have a beer with. We talk about how to get started with LinkedIn ads, what industries perform best on LinkedIn, what ad formats are available, and how to make sure your LinkedIn ads stand out from the spammers. All right, AJ Wilcox, welcome to Suds and Search. How you doing?
Doing awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Mark.
I am so happy to have you. I got to tell our audience, I have a confession to make. I don't know that much about LinkedIn ads. So I am going to be learning with them. And I hope, AJ, you'll embellish me with some newbie questions. So I had this kind of a long-winded question, but I was thinking about this before. Everybody, including me, understands the value prop of LinkedIn. I think it's almost obvious. I look around and there's tools being created all the time for Facebook and Google and Instagram, and there doesn't seem to be as many tools about LinkedIn. I see presentations and people making a name for themselves talking about like TikTok and talking about it's certainly Google, Facebook, Instagram, these behemoths. How do you account for what seems to me to be a ratio that's off? Like it should be more LinkedIn. How do you account for this?
I actually think I have a really good answer for this. You've got Google, who really started the game, and they came out with floor bids that were like 5 cents back in, when they started. And
I remember.
They were so low that it didn't matter whether you totally screwed up, you were going to see a return on your investment. And then you'd go and tell your other friends who are also business owners about it. And then they would come on too. And then, more and more people causes more competition, and then prices go up eventually to the point where you've really got to be buttoned up or you get priced out of the market. Facebook used very much the same bottom-up strategy. It was price our inventory really low, let our competition drive it up. And then you have LinkedIn from day one. I mean, they launched really similar in time to Facebook ads. They launched with a $2 cost per click floor on their ads.
That's amazing,
so yeah. And so it's never been cheap. And of course, now we're paying like $8 to $11 per click. So a new entrant right now is like getting punished. But even back then, it was super expensive compared to your other options. And I think that's
so true. Yeah. Oh, that's a great observation. I hadn't thought about that. I think I should probably explain that a little bit. So I said the value prop was obvious to me, and here's how I would explain it. These other websites, Google for sure knows a lot about me. Facebook for sure knows a lot about me, but nobody knows as much about me professionally as LinkedIn. That seems to be the big the big benefit are the audiences. And so for B2B audiences, I said I'm going to ask you a newbie question. Can you give us the basics of audience targeting in LinkedIn and maybe the intermediate? How does audience targeting work in LinkedIn?
Yeah, and I think you're totally spot on with what you have. It's your whole professional life, and the types of facets. I think we have something like 27 or 28 different targeting facets now on LinkedIn. But the main ones that we go to are job title, department and seniority, skills with seniority, groups with seniority, and as opposed to Facebook. I know this is a constant Facebook ask that we all have, is like, if someone joins a group about CRMs or something, I would love to be able to advertise to that group, the members of it. Well, on LinkedIn, we've been able to do that since 2007. Facebook, we still can't without some like in-depth like scraping and that kind of thing. But we have things like company size, company industry. We can target by specific company name, and it has incredibly high match rates because, you know, basically every company with at least 50 employees is on there and has a company page. And that's probably only about a fifth of all the options available.
Unbelievable. I think one of the ways I want to get to is like how to just get started. But maybe an obvious question is, even in B2B, at $8 per click, it's like, this isn't for everyone, right? This isn't going to be for every B2B player. How do you know? How do you know? Like, if I'm getting started, that's a pretty big risk. How do I know? Maybe give some tips for how you know if it's worth even dipping your toe in the water here.
Yeah, that's a really perfect question because it's so expensive, and we know that high cost means high risk. And the last thing I want is for me to give advice on a podcast and have someone go out and waste money. So I love the question. What we've boiled it down to is basically 3 different instances where LinkedIn ads is a really good deal, like a total slam dunk. The first is, I think, what most people use it for, which is lead generation with high lifetime values. And what we tell people is if you have a lifetime value of over $15,000, then LinkedIn ads is a total no-brainer. You'll probably spend $1,000 to $4,000 in ad spend to close a deal. And then you still have plenty of room there to pay a sales rep commissions and finance additional ad spend. But then white collar recruiting also works extremely well. And we've even seen higher education, like MBA programs recruiting candidates. The targeting is really good around like where someone went to school, what they studied, how many years of experience they have, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a high lifetime value customer, the education side of it. So
yeah.
Again, this is another thing I know. I was frantically Googling before I started talking to you. Cheers on your Berkshire beer there. I was frantically Googling before I got here. What are the different, there are like not as many ad formats as I thought. There are just a handful. What, at a basic level, what are these different ad formats? And how do you choose based on your original objective? Like, how do you choose this ad format versus this ad format?
Yeah. Oh, one second. Sorry about that. I made the stupid mistake of letting my phone be connected to the same headset. So I got a call and everything went off. Okay. Sorry. So for ad formats, there are 4 ad formats, 4 main ones that we get access to right now. The sponsored content is the one that shows up in the news feed, and it's got a video variation, it has an image variation, and it has a carousel with multiple images. So that's the main one, and that's what I generally recommend. Like everyone, like 95% of advertisers should start there.
Okay.
But you also have text ads, which are when you're on desktop, they're over in the right rail.
Right, yeah.
And they're a little box that you share with 2 other advertisers and a very tiny little image with some text. The third is dynamic ads. It actually takes up the same inventory on desktop, but rather than sharing with 2 other advertisers in a smaller format, you get the whole square and they stick your face as a person being advertised to into the ad. So that's kind of interesting. And the fourth is really the newest and most interesting. It's the message ads. And it's where these aren't paid on a cost per click like the other ones. These are a cost per send, but you can send people a somewhat personalized message right into their messaging box. And they're a little bit higher risk because you're not paying for a click.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wanted to ask you about message ads, and this is I'm so excited about this topic. But one of the things about LinkedIn, maybe this is just me, but my LinkedIn message box has been polluted. It's like all these unsolicited messages. Usually they'll message you like 10 times, like, did you get my message? We're worried about you, like they'll get really, really down the rabbit hole. And so it's possible I've gotten a really great message ad. And because I'm just like so inundated with these things. I may have missed it. Two questions. Am I a rare case? Maybe I'm a business owner, so I probably get it a lot more than the average person. And the second question, how does a savvy marketer break through that? Where there's just so much coming into people's inboxes.
Yeah, brilliant. Message ads are, LinkedIn on the marketing side, they're very different from the organic side of the platform. They're in different buildings. They're very siloed, and they all work towards the same goal, which is having a better user experience. And on the sales side, they decided that a good user experience for selling someone an upgraded account is giving them free in-mails where you can send messages to people that you're not already connected to. And there's, as far as I can tell, there's no limit to the number of in-mails that a person can receive. Maybe you and I can be a case study for like, let's
Right.
count them. Yeah. But
Yeah,
on
count
the advertising side, they said early on, we don't want people to get these all the time. We want them to be a little bit special. So they started it. You could only receive one every 60 days. And then they shrunk it down last year to one every 45 days. And now it's down to one every 30 days. So if you're getting a ton of these messages, chances are the majority of them are going to be from people who use Sales Navigator.
Right.
You'll only see one every 30 days that says promoted. If you want yours to stand out though, because they do look very similar, I think there's, because you're paying for these, and on Sales Navigator, there's an incremental, call it a marginal cost associated with sending a message, but it's not large. As an advertiser though, you're going to pay 35 to let's say 65 cents to send it to someone. And so you really want it to land. You want it to stand out. You want it to be valuable. So what we've found is if you start with an offer that's like, talk to our sales rep or download this free white paper, people just go, like it's not interesting. But if you go to them with a message that really is valuable, something that if you got it as a cold email, you'd be excited about rather than marking it as spam. So things like, because of who you are in the industry, we want to give you early access to something we've built, or a sneak peek at something that's coming out, or we're interested in you for a partnership or a job opportunity. If you lead with that kind of opportunity, then the average open rate is like 55%. The average click-through rate is like 3.2%. But when you lead with something of real value that people are excited about, you see things that are like open rates of 70 and 80% and click-through rates of 20%. And if you can really beat the average, your cost per click comes way down. You might be paying less than $1 per click while everyone else is paying, 15, 20, 30.
Wow, and it's such a targeted thing. So it's amazing. I think we've talked about this a couple of times, but I said there's an obvious value prop to LinkedIn. The other one that's obvious to me as a business owner is we struggle with hiring. We spend a ton of money and time, and we'll hire recruiters and then complain about the quality of applicants we're getting from the recruiter. And when we end up hiring one, we pay through the nose, and it's just like kind of an awful experience all the way around. And so LinkedIn seems like this thing out there that I should be doing. I should be on it. I should be using it to find candidates. And truth be told, I think we've dabbled a couple of times. What success stories do you have of people using LinkedIn to hire any number of positions? It could be entry level for all I care, but just to hire people. It seems like such an obvious value prop for LinkedIn.
Yeah, and there are so many ways to hire talent on LinkedIn. It really started out as like a job platform to begin with. The way that most people think of is you can sign up for a recruiter light license, and I think it's like $2,000 a month. So your internal recruiter has access to this tool where they can message unlimited amounts of people, asking them if they're interested. And part of that, and that's what LinkedIn sales teams are actively reaching out to HR departments and trying to sell them. And so this is what most people know. As part of that, you can post jobs, and LinkedIn has this really easy, like, hey, instant apply for this job, just click the button and it goes. And all these recruiters are going, oh man, we're getting people who are just so unqualified because it was so easy for them to just hit the button. But what we find, recruiters, nothing against them, like they're super valuable, but when they are working on job boards, when they are putting a posting out and having people apply, the people that they're getting are the job seekers. And you ask any recruiter, and I've been out of work before, so absolutely like no offense meant by this, but every recruiter is after that passive candidate, someone who's already employed, they're already gainfully and happily employed, and they're just looking for their next opportunity because they tend to be a better quality of candidate rather than someone who's out of work and looking for their next gig. So what we find is by advertising, it's naturally going to bring passive candidates. So instead of pushing people to a job rec that says like, you got to be able to lift 15 pounds and work in dimly lit environments, like the super boring stuff. Instead, treat it like we would treat a lead gen form. You put them to a landing page that makes the position feel special. It makes the company look cool. Maybe there's a reel about here's our company culture, and it doesn't take very much to put that together. But now you're showing ads saying like, hey, do you are you interested in this kind of opportunity? We're looking for someone like you. You look experienced. And they just got done getting a browbeating by their boss. And they're like, yeah, I think I would consider it. Let me check this out. And then when they click and apply, you're the only one they've applied for. So when you extend an offer, you're not competing with 3 other offers.
I love it. How immersive is LinkedIn? So if I put a posting up there, can they go through the entire process of reading the job description, applying, all on LinkedIn, or are we driving them from LinkedIn to a website or to a job board page?
You could keep them on LinkedIn. Like if you had a LinkedIn job posting, I think they cost, I don't even want to quote something because I don't play on that side too often and I'm not sure. But what I would prefer to do is drive them to somewhere on my site that I can control and will be special. But I'm sure you know lead ads on Facebook. Mm-hmm. There's an equivalent on LinkedIn that they call lead gen form ads. And what you could do is just say like, hey, here's kind of what we're looking to hire. You look specialized here. If you want to apply, just drop your email address in, and then LinkedIn auto-fills that. All they have to do is just hit submit, and then you can very quickly reply to them and check with them. So lots of options.
AJ, that is a great tip. I'm going to try that. So that's right out of here. I have an actionable thing to do. The last thing about LinkedIn that I can think of, one thing that happened for Facebook and Facebook businesses on Facebook in particular is that they found that their organic reach that they could have been working for a while to build up followers and all this stuff. And now it's like, it's gone, or it's for all intents and purposes gone. Yeah. So LinkedIn seems to me to be the last kind of place with some organic reach. Do I have that right?
Yeah, 100% right. And this is exciting because if you listen to people like Gary Vaynerchuk and many others, they're saying, same thing happened on Facebook. Like, you know, we used to have real organic reach, and then 2013 or whatever hit, and then it all just went away because they adopted the algorithm. And the funny thing is that they're saying same thing's going to happen to LinkedIn. Like, just wait. Well, the difference is LinkedIn has already implemented that same algorithm, and it didn't cut our reach down. It increased it. So your natural question is, okay, so why is that? Like, what's the economics here? The economics is that on Facebook, everyone is willing to post and share. And so Facebook has to like cut things out and decide how to pare things down. But on LinkedIn, I don't know if it's just like you're afraid to trip and fall in front of your work colleagues or whatever, but only 3 to 4% of people will post and actually create content. But 100% of us need content when we log in our newsfeed. And so what LinkedIn does is anytime someone hits like, comment, or share on a post, it then makes that post eligible to be seen by a portion of their followers. And so now it's the easiest network in the world to go viral. All you have to do is put something together that people want to engage with. They want to hit comment, especially comments. That's the most powerful one. But if they want to like it, then it's going to go to your followers and your followers' followers and your followers' followers.
That's that. Yeah. Well, this is I'm learning a ton from this, so I appreciate it. I would I want to give you a hypothetical. So let's say SearchLab, we just say, we're doing well. We have $5,000 a month. I think I could budget toward LinkedIn, and I have a long-term investment in this. I want to do this for a year or so, or a couple of years. My goal is to do two things. I want to get more people here. I have hiring challenges and I need new clients. And so we're B2B and we're in that high lifetime value category you mentioned. What do you suggest I would do to get started? How do I decide what to do with my $5,000?
Yeah, and this will probably feel very similar to a Facebook strategy, but it does have some marked differences that we can discuss too. First off, I keep this acronym in my head called AMO, AMO. And it's like, bring your ammo to social advertising. It's the three things that every social ads campaign needs. You need your audience, your message, and your offer. And so audience, you go, okay, so who is our absolute ideal target audience? And I would imagine you're probably talking to everything from marketing managers up to CMOs in certain verticals or certain company sizes. Right. But do you have any specifics, like certain industries?
We love to work with auto dealers. And so like a general manager is a great intro for me. A marketing manager at one of the auto dealerships is a great intro for me. You got it. You've pegged it pretty well.
Nice. Okay. So you could do job title of general manager. You could do industry of automotive. You could do company size of, I don't know, car dealerships or something. Maybe they have less than 50 or less than 200 employees. You select that criteria, and now you're in front of the right people. Message we kind of ignore for a minute because message kind of takes care of itself. But the offer, this is by far the most important thing. And that is, if we put an ad up on LinkedIn that just says, here's what we do, click here to talk to our sales rep, no one will click that ad. And the people who do, they will have ultra low conversion rates and it will just cost you a ton and you won't get any sort of volume that's worthwhile. So we have to move a little bit up the chain and we're going to go after them with some kind of offer that is interesting to them. It solves a pain point. It satisfies a curiosity, something where there's value being communicated. And in exchange, you are asking for them to fill out a form, which is great because then you can at least tell, am I landing? Like, is this being successful? Because people are willing to give us their info. But what you find is if your content, if your offer is valuable enough, people will convert. They'll download it at like 15% or higher conversion rates. And then you can get your cost per lead down significantly.
Okay. So the thing not to do with the offer is to look like everybody else, it sounds like. So if you're learn more or, go to my website, that ain't going to work. You have to do something that's a little bit different and differentiates you. And the offer is the main place to do that.
Yeah. And once you know what your offer is, the message, like the ad format you choose and the messaging and the imagery, that all falls into place. You know what to put there. But it's really important to get this right and to stand out. Because one of the first things that I learned, one of my first clients when I went out on my own 6 years ago, they said, hey, for an image, we want to use a little piece of a comic strip that our creative director created. And I was like, that's not going to work. He's like, seriously, try it. We just want to see. And so I put it up there and it was by far one of the best performing ads I'd seen to that point. And it's not because the comic strip was especially great or anything. It's because it stood out. So on LinkedIn, everything is blues, grays, and whites. Every picture is a stock photo. So if you can use the oranges, reds, purples, greens palette, and you're not using stock photos, you're using something that doesn't fit on LinkedIn, then all of a sudden, like you do stand out and see outsized results.
Yeah, a little bit of a pattern interrupter. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, AJ, this has been great. I hope this wasn't too LinkedIn 101 for you, but I certainly loved it. If people want to get in touch with you, how should they do so?
If you go to our website, B2Linked.com, if you fill out the form on any of the pages, those leads get to me, or the contact forms get to me. And also, if you want to connect on LinkedIn, just make sure you customize your connection request and say, like, you heard me on Mark's show. That way I'll know to accept it, because I get too many of those things. I have to be a little bit choosy. But But yeah, try that out. AJ Wilcox is my name. I'm a chubby ginger. I'm easy to find.
Well, AJ, this has been a lot of fun. Enjoy the rest of your root beer. I'm going to sign off for now, but I look forward to following you and getting more information about LinkedIn in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, AJ.